All right, so let's dive into something
Okay.
pretty wild today.
Yeah.
What if we all started living to 150?
Wow.
Not just a few outliers,
Mhm.
but like everyone.
Okay.
Imagine the ripple effects.
Oh, yeah.
Like everything,
Everything.
from how we structure our careers,
Right.
retirement, to the very fabric of families and relationships,
Yeah.
and even like how we grapple with the meaning of life itself.
It's certainly a thought experiment
It is
with huge implications.
huge, and it's not just science fiction anymore.
Yep.
Matthew Wallace,
Yeah.
in his series of articles on this very topic,
Okay.
suggests that with advancements in biotechnology, we might be closer to this reality than we think.
Okay, so Matthew Wallace is our guide
He is.
for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're really going to try to understand how these changes could affect you personally.
Right.
Let's start with the most obvious work
Sure.
in the economy.
Yeah.
150-year lifespan would turn our entire concept.
Of careers on its head.
Absolutely. Wallace points out that the traditional model of working for 40-ish years and then retiring just wouldn't be sustainable.
Okay.
Imagine needing to fund a retirement that lasts 80 years.
80.
That's more than double
Oh, wow.
what most pension systems are designed for.
Yeah, talk about a financial planning nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm already struggling to save for a regular retirement.
Right.
It's making me wonder if we'd see a complete overhaul
Yeah.
of retirement funds.
It's very likely.
Yeah.
We might see systems where retirement savings are spread out over a much longer working period, or perhaps even a shift away from traditional retirement altogether.
So instead of one long block of leisure time at the end,
Right.
it'd be more integrated throughout our lives.
Exactly. Wallace suggests the idea of life sabbaticals becoming common.
Life sabbaticals.
Think extended breaks
Yep.
every few decades
Okay.
to retrain, travel, or simply recharge
Wow.
before diving back into work.
That's interesting. But wouldn't constant retraining put immense pressure on individuals to stay relevant in an ever-changing job market?
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
It would certainly require a major shift in our education systems and approaches to lifelong learning. It's also possible that the very nature of work would evolve.
Okay.
Maybe we'd see a rise in more flexible, project-based work instead of the traditional 9-to-5 grind.
Okay, so careers would look wildly different. Retirement would be almost unrecognizable.
Right.
What about the impact on younger generations?
That's a good question.
Would entry-level positions even exist
Yeah.
if people were working for a century?
That's one of the potential generational clashes Wallace highlights.
Okay.
If older generations are working longer, it could create a bottleneck in the job market,
Oh, wow.
making it harder for young people to climb the career ladder.
It's like that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks,
Right.
but apply to the entire workforce.
Yeah.
I wonder how companies would adapt.
I don't know.
Would we see age limits on certain roles?
Maybe.
Or maybe even quotas for younger employees?
It's hard to say for sure,
Yeah.
but it's certainly a question that would need to be addressed.
Right.
We might even see entirely new economic models emerge.
Okay.
Ones that are designed to accommodate
Yeah.
these longer working lifespans.
It's really fascinating to think about how all these pieces would fit together.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about something a little more personal, love and relationships.
Okay.
How would the concept of till death do us part
Right.
hold up in a world
Yeah.
where death is a century away?
That's one of the most intriguing aspects in this
Yes.
whole scenario.
Yeah.
Wallace suggests that we might see a shift away
Okay.
from the traditional model of one lifelong marriage.
Oh, wow.
I mean, multiple marriages. Over the course of a 150-year lifespan,
Exactly.
as people evolve and their needs change,
Right.
it's conceivable that they might seek out new partners who are more aligned with their stage of life.
Okay.
It would require a whole new approach to commitment and partnership.
And what about families?
Oh, yeah.
Just imagine the size of family gatherings.
It's huge.
You could have 6 or 7 generations
Oh, my God.
all alive at the same time.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it?
It is.
Wallace suggests that in a world of 150-year lifespans, family structures would likely become much more fluid and adaptable. We might see multi-generational households become the norm, with grandparents, parents, children, and even great-grandchildren all living under one roof.
That would certainly change the dynamics, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
On the one hand, think of the wisdom and support that would come from having multiple generations living together. But on the other hand,
there's potential for conflict and tension as well.
Oh, right.
Different generations often have different values and priorities. Living in such close proximity could amplify those differences.
And then there's the issue of power dynamics. Would older generations, with their accumulated wealth and experience, hold more sway within families?
Possibly.
It almost feels like it could create a mini gerontocracy within each household.
That's a thought-provoking point.
It is.
It would definitely require rethinking of how decisions are made within families. We might see a need for more collaborative decision-making models that take into account the perspectives of all generations.
It's amazing how even something as fundamental as family life would be transformed by this one change.
Absolutely.
It's like every aspect of society would need to adapt and evolve.
And we haven't even touched on the potential cultural shifts. How would art, literature, music, and even our sense of history be shaped by the experience of living for 150 years?
That's a good question.
Those are questions we'll have to explore further in part 2 of our deep dive.
It sounds like we got a lot more to unpack.
Yeah, we do.
Make sure to join us for part 2.
Yes.
Where we'll delve deeper into the cultural implications of a 150-year lifespan.
That's good.
We'll also tackle the big one.
Okay.
The impact on our planet and its resources.
We'll see you then.
Welcome back to our deep dive.
Thanks for having me back.
Into the world of 150-year lifespans.
It's a wild one.
Last time we left off talking about how families and relationships might evolve in a society where people are living for a century and a half.
We were just scratching the surface, really. The potential for cultural transformation is immense.
Huge.
Imagine the sheer volume of art, music, and literature that could be produced over a 150-year lifespan. We might see entirely new artistic movements emerge, reflecting the unique perspectives of those who have lived through multiple centuries.
What about our sense of history?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's already hard enough to grasp the events of the past few centuries. Imagine trying to comprehend 150 years worth of historical events.
It would certainly challenge our current understanding of historical narratives. We might need to develop entirely new ways of organizing and interpreting history.
That makes sense.
It's even possible that our concept of time itself would be altered with 50-year spans. Feeling more like decades do today.
It's like our brains would have to rewire themselves to accommodate this extended time frame.
Totally.
But before we get too lost in the cultural implications, let's address the elephant in the room.
All right.
The impact on our planet. Can Earth even sustain billions of people living to 150?
That's a question Matthew Wallace grapples with extensively in his articles. He acknowledges the obvious concern overpopulation, with people living longer. The strain on resources like food, water, and energy would be enormous.
Unless birth rates plummet. We're talking about a potentially unsustainable number of people on the planet. It's making me think about space exploration and colonization.
Oh, interesting.
Would the need for resources drive a more urgent push to find habitable planets?
It's certainly a possibility. The idea of becoming a multi-planetary species might shift from a futuristic ambition to a necessity for survival. However, Wallace also points out that longer lifespans could have a counterintuitive effect on our relationship with the planet.
Oh, that's interesting. How so?
Well, if you know you're going to be around for 150 years, you might be more invested in protecting the environment.
I can see
the long-term consequences of climate change and resource depletion would become much more tangible and personal.
So instead of just thinking about our children and grandchildren, we'd be thinking about our great-great-great-grandchildren.
Exactly.
It's like extending our sense of responsibility to future generations.
For sure.
Absolutely. But even with those efforts, It seems like healthcare would face immense challenges with so many people living longer.
Huge challenges.
The current system is already strained.
For sure.
How would we manage the healthcare needs of a population?
It's tough to
living to 150.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Wallace envisions a future where healthcare shifts from a reactive approach focused on treating illnesses to a preventative model that prioritizes maintaining health and well-being over the entire lifespan.
So less about fixing problems and more about preventing them in the first place.
Precisely.
Yeah.
He talks about advancements in genetic editing and nanotechnology that could potentially slow down the aging process and keep people healthier for longer.
Wow.
Imagine a world where the average 130-year-old is as physically and mentally sharp as a 40-year-old today.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
But wouldn't access to these advanced technologies be incredibly expensive?
Probably.
Would we end up with a situation where only the wealthy can afford to live to 150?
That's a crucial ethical question that Wallace raises.
Okay.
He argues that if we're going to pursue life extension technologies, we need to ensure that they are accessible to everyone.
That's fair.
Not just a privileged few.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we risk exacerbating existing inequalities and creating a society where longevity is determined by wealth.
It's a sobering thought.
It is.
It seems like every potential benefit of a 150-year lifespan comes with a set of complex ethical challenges that we need to address.
Big time.
It's a reminder that technology alone can't solve the fundamental questions of what it means to live a good life and what kind of society we want to create.
For sure.
Speaking of those fundamental questions, let's move on to the big one. The meaning of life.
The big one.
How would our understanding of purpose and fulfillment change?
Good question.
In a world where we have 150 years to figure it all out.
I don't know.
Stay with us as we dive into that
in
the next part of our deep dive. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive.
It's been a journey.
Into a world where humans live to 150.
It has.
We've explored a lot of fascinating and sometimes daunting possibilities.
Right.
Everything from the economic implications to the potential for societal upheaval.
Yeah.
And even how our understanding of love, family, and the very meaning of life might be transformed.
Big stuff.
We left off talking about the search for meaning and purpose in a world where we have so much more time to figure things out.
It's exciting, but also a bit overwhelming.
It is.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin to make sense of it all?
I think that's the key question, isn't it?
I think so.
It's not just about having more time. It's about what we choose to do with that time.
Yeah.
Matthew Wallace makes a point in his articles that really resonated with me. He suggests that even with 150 years, our lives are still finite.
That's true.
We still have a limited amount of time to make our mark on the world and to find meaning and purpose.
So instead of feeling like we have forever, we should approach each day with a sense of intention and purpose.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that the journey itself is what matters, not just the destination. Whether we have 50 years or 150 years, the challenge is to live each day to the fullest.
And to make choices that align with our values and aspirations.
It's a good reminder that time is a precious resource. Regardless of how much we have.
It is.
But it still feels like a daunting task.
Sure.
To figure out what we're meant to do with all that time.
I understand.
Are there any practical steps we can take?
Maybe.
To start making sense of it all?
Well, I think it starts with asking ourselves some fundamental questions. What are we passionate about? What brings us joy? What kind of impact do we want to have on the world? Once we have a better understanding of our own values and aspirations, we can start to make choices that align with those goals.
It sounds like it's about finding our own unique path.
It is.
Rather than trying to conform to some preconceived notion of what a successful or meaningful life should look like.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. Some people might find fulfillment in dedicating their lives
to a single pursuit, like mastering a skill or contributing to a particular field of knowledge. Others might thrive on variety and choose to explore different passions throughout their lives.
Imagine having the time to become fluent in multiple languages.
I know, right?
To travel the world and immerse yourself in different cultures.
Yeah.
Or to dedicate decades to mastering a craft or art form.
The possibilities are truly endless.
They are.
And it's not just about personal pursuits either.
Right.
We might see a surge in people dedicating their lives to solving global challenges like poverty, climate change, or disease.
Yeah.
With more time and experience, we could make significant progress on issues that have plagued humanity for centuries.
It's inspiring to think about the potential for positive change.
It is.
But I also wonder about the potential downsides.
Of course.
What if people get bored or restless with so much time on their hands?
Right.
Or what if they become paralyzed by choice and end up feeling lost and directionless?
Those are valid concerns.
Yeah.
It's likely that a 150-year lifespan would come with its own set of psychological and emotional challenges.
Right.
We might need to develop new ways of coping with the complexities of such long lives.
That makes sense.
And finding meaning in a world that is constantly changing.
It seems like we would need to reevaluate our entire societal structure.
Yeah.
Everything from education and healthcare to work and retirement.
Everything.
Would our current systems even be viable in a world where people are living for a century and a half?
It's unlikely.
Yeah.
We would need to rethink almost every aspect of our society
Right.
to accommodate these longer lifespans.
Wow.
And that process of adaptation and change would likely be ongoing as we continue to learn and adjust to the realities of this new world.
It's both exciting and a bit daunting to think about.
It is.
It's like we're standing on the cusp of a new era.
Yeah.
And we have the opportunity to shape it in a way that benefits all of humanity.
For sure.
But is also a huge responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's the takeaway I want to leave our listeners with.
Okay.
The prospect of living to 150 is filled with both promise and uncertainty.
Right.
It's a future that will require us to be adaptable, resilient, and above all, intentional about how we choose to live our lives.
It's a challenge worth embracing, isn't it?
It is.
Because ultimately the length of our lives is less important than the depth of our experiences and the impact we have on others.
Couldn't agree more.
Right.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to encourage each of you listening to ask yourselves, what am I living for?
Yeah.
And what choices can I make today to create a life that feels truly meaningful and fulfilling, regardless of how many years I'm given?
Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
On this thought-provoking journey.
Absolutely.
Into the world of 150-year lifespans.
A fascinating topic.
We hope this has sparked your curiosity. And inspired you to think differently about the possibilities that lie ahead.
For sure.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep questioning.
Absolutely.
And keep living with intention and purpose.